Дорогие друзья, дамы и господа, мы рады вас приветствовать. Сначала немножко логистических комментариев. Сегодняшняя панельная сессия будет в основном на английском языке, но мы постараемся миксовать русский и английский. По логистике обращаем ваше внимание на то, что аварийные выходы на случай чрезвычайных ситуаций, например, пожара, расположены в мини-атриуме между блоками C34 и C33, а также в зоне за лифтами. Теперь, наверное, можно перейти непосредственно к содержанию сегодняшней интересной дискуссии. Меня зовут Бинур Жаленов, я представляю Национальную платежную корпорацию Национального банка Республики Казахстан, и сегодня мне выпала честь модерировать эту панельную сессию. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the panel session from BRICS to Bytes, Tokenization of New Assets, hosted by Astana Financial Services Authority, which we are thankful for the regulator. My name is Binur Jalenov, and I'm honored to moderate today's session. So we are living in the era of unprecedented change in technology and financial landscape specifically. And tokenization as a concept, tokenization as technology is one of the technologies that actually driving this change. Imagine when you can issue a token backed by different form of assets, including real estate, art, or anything you can imagine. It can actually enable a huge democratization of this market. It can actually enable a lot of liquidity to the market. And we are going to discuss this concept from different angles in today's panel session. And we are pleased to have such an esteemed panelist who can provide different view on this concept, not only from a regulatory perspective, but also from the market perspective and from traditional financial market perspective as well. And I hope to have a very interesting discussion today. So let me then introduce the members of today's panel. So we are pleased to have Rajat Sahuja, who leading the crypto in MasterCard for entire EMEA region. We are pleased to have Juan Carlos Reyes, who is a president of Commission of National Commission for Digital Assets, I guess, right? So in El Salvador, we are pleased to have Athena Miao, Chief Commercial Officer for Big One Exchange, and last but not least, Mr. Arnab Naskar, Business Lead for Stoker. So with no further ado, let us start with some series of questions today. And let me start with Rajat. MasterCard has been instrumental in introducing different type of digital assets to traditional financial market players. And as you always suggest, MasterCard business is about building network of networks, and digital asset is just another type of network, and you are guys trying to sort of bridge the traditional financial system with this new emerging concept of DeFi or other forms of blockchains or any type of assets. So the question is quite simple. How do you see the tokenization concept fitting into traditional financial and payments landscape? Where are the commonalities or differences, and what is your overall perspective on that? So please, the floor is yours.
I'll have to look this side. I won't be able to look at you because the mic's pointing
Absolutely.
this way.
Yeah.
So bear with me, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting that you asked this question. One of the key things that we at MasterCard do is focus on a multi-rail strategy. Most of the people, if I ask in this room, what do you know MasterCard for? They're probably going to say cards, right? Those of you who are probably closer to the payments world, specifically card rails, would know the other services we provide. And in fact, services is a big part of what we do. Yes, we started out with cards, but that is not necessarily the only thing we do, because we see the world as a changing concept. It's never consistent. And we want to be where customers want to be, right? So you, as a customer sitting in this room, you want to use the money the way you want to do it, wherever you want to do it, and in a form factor the way you want or you prefer, right? And what we see today is that is moving a lot towards digital tokenization. And when I say tokenization, I'm not talking about MasterCard tokenization, which is tokenizing your card, but I'm talking about actual current cryptocurrencies or any form of digital currency sitting on a blockchain network. Now, when we enter the space, there's different things we look at, but one thing remains consistent, which is to ensure the same level of safety, security, and trust in this ecosystem. When you take your card and you buy a coffee maybe right next door, you don't think twice, right, whether you're going to be scammed or not going to be scammed. If you have a transaction that doesn't go the way it's supposed to, you know you will be made whole, and the merchant who's accepting funds will also be made whole. So you trust counterparties, you trust merchants, you trust the bank that you bank with, and we are here to enable that. Think of that being transferred to the world of blockchain as well. Now, with the multi-token network, which is a product we announced about, I would say, almost 1.5 years ago now, the whole idea is we want to enable the tokenization economy. And how we're doing that is by working with trusted parties that are initiating payments. They want payments to be made. They connect to our network on one side, and you as customers of banks will be able to leverage the connections we have with banks and integration with banks to tokenize money sitting in bank accounts. Now let's stop and think for a second. I'll make a quick check. How many of you in this room have ever engaged with cryptocurrencies or bought a crypto? Few, I like that. Jakub, you don't count. But I like there's a few people who are already doing that. Now, how many people in this room have actually, of these people that were actually purchasing cryptocurrencies, actually bought a tokenized asset which was not a traditional crypto like Bitcoin or ETH? So, there you go. Much fewer, right? Why is that the case? A few things that we've seen and observed is that one, the user experience is not simple. Customers are not used to going and connecting wallets today. It will change in the future. What it will look like, we don't know. But today, they're not used to connecting wallets. They're used to making it as simple as possible for them, right? Second, what we've observed is that you still need on-ramps and off-ramps. No matter what we say today, yes, Web3 has great potential, but even Web3 needs to work very close with the Web2 world, the banks, to be able to on-ramp the money and then off-ramp as well. And this is where it gets very fascinating. What we're doing is we're issuing commercial bank liabilities on the chain. So money sitting in your bank account, your commercial bank, is actually being tokenized and made available on the blockchain to do any transaction you would like to do. Now, what this means for the tokenized economy is that today, if you were to buy these tokenized assets, you would typically either use public cryptocurrencies, mostly stables, I would imagine, or you would be doing traditional bank account transfers. In both cases, there's challenges and limitations. With public cryptocurrencies, you're being exposed to a public network. On the other hand, traditional bank account transfers don't necessarily give you the benefit of things like delivery versus payment and instant settlements, right? But with money sitting in bank accounts being now made available on the chain, you're actually able to enable that. And there's different use cases, and I'll be happy to explore some of them with the rest of the colleagues here as well as we go forward.
That's cool. Thank you. And I have some follow-up question for you as a MasterCard representative here. So one claim that tokenized economy might disrupt actually the current business models for traditional financial intermediaries, right? So, and it's interesting to hear how MasterCard actually navigate this balance between embracing the actual innovation, gaining value from it, with preserving the core business models that you guys do.
Yeah, that sounds like a loaded question, but what I can definitely say is that we don't know what the disruption will bring at the end, right? That's the whole idea with disruption. Yep. You don't know who will be the last party standing, but at least the idea is we need to embrace innovation. And the only way we can do it is by bringing all parties to the table. And it could mean bringing competitors in some cases to the table as well, because only when you have that kind of a dialogue can you actually reach a situation where there's benefit coming to the entire ecosystem. But yes, in today's world, we are there, and we want to continue being relevant in the future as well. Hopefully, with a lot more of the current world that I represent at MasterCard in the region.
That's very good, because I actually do realize that MasterCard is one of the leading traditional financial institutions who are actually embracing this entire tokenization concept, because last year we collaborated very well on MasterCard network and our CBDC, which is also tokenized. And I know that you guys also doing a lot of interesting use cases with the concept of MTN. Can you evolve on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you for such kind words, Vidur.
Yeah.
So maybe let's pick one of the use cases within the world of the multi-token network, right? I threw the term out without even explaining what it is, other than the fact that we're tokenizing money sitting in commercial bank deposits. Let's pick a use case, which is, of course, public. Very recently, this was announced, some work we did in Hong Kong with HKMA and some participants. The whole idea was that a client of Mox Bank wanted to purchase carbon credits, of course, to offset their carbon footprint. And what we enabled in a scenario like that is a client of Mox Bank was able to request a tokenized carbon credit. The tokenization was being done by a third-party infrastructure provider. It was actually a provider which was within the Standard Chartered ecosystem, so it was something in their family already. The tokenized carbon credit, so actually the request was first placed on the platform for a carbon credit to be purchased. Standard Chartered made that carbon credit available on the chain using the infrastructure provider to tokenize it. And then finally, there was an atomic swap that happened between money sitting in a client's Mox Bank account versus this particular chain. Now, why that becomes very interesting for us in the world of MTN. So in MTN, there's three ways we can enable tokenized assets, right? Or real world assets specifically in this case. One is the token gets minted on MasterCard's private permission chain, which is what we use for tokenizing commercial bank deposits. In this case, you would have delivery versus payment happening within the MasterCard network, right? This is available, can be done. Second is we connect to marketplaces. This is the most predominant method, by the way, in the multi-token network. So we work with marketplaces that connect to us, where customers are already present and purchasing assets from them. And the assets range from carbon credits to real estate to money market funds as well, growing quite fast actually now. In all of these scenarios, what happens is that these marketplaces are typically running on a separate chain. So the assets always continue to remain on their chain. They connect with our network through APIs. And what happens is whenever there is a transaction happening, these third-party marketplaces confirm the delivery of the asset, and that's when we confirm the movement of payments as well. So still, building on the delivery versus payment, but in a different aspect. Third one, which is what we're currently exploring quite heavily, is that MasterCard starts writing smart contracts directly on some chains. Now, I cannot tell you which chains these will be, when we will do it. Of course, time will tell, but we're interestingly exploring that as we speak. And in a scenario like that, what we're trying to do is go beyond connecting through APIs, but rather now being on-chain, on public blockchains ourselves, and how we will enable that, because this is where most traditional financial institutions will immediately start asking questions. And you outside were just talking about it as well, right? Commingling of funds. So MasterCard also has a separate product called the crypto credential. The whole idea with this product is that we have set some KYC standards for wallets, as long as you have done those KYCs, which could be with an exchange, could be with a self-custodied wallet. But as long as you meet those standards, we can onboard you onto this network, give you a credential, which is sort of an alias. So instead of 64 characters of alphanumeric code, you now have an alias. And with that alias, we create a secure enclave. And only these wallets, which are part of the secure enclave, are able to interact with us. So essentially, the whole idea with this is that we've gotten here over a period of 6 years of development. There's multiple things that have gone into this world. One of the first ones being the work that we actually did with you as well, which is connecting a wallet with a card and allowing customers to spend either their CBDC or their crypto in real time at any MasterCard acceptance location, which is 110 plus million globally. That was how we started off, and today we're here, and definitely this is not where we're stopping. We hope to continue innovating, We hope to continue providing access to new technologies to our partners, and at the same time working with the challengers in the market as well, because that's how we believe we can grow as a group.
Well, it's great. It's great when traditional financial institutions not try to contrapose themselves to this entire tokenization movement, but rather trying to find the balanced way so that we can enjoy the benefits of both worlds. And great to hear the MasterCard commitment to do so. So, dear panelists, let me switch to Russian to summarize some important points that Rajat made in his statement. Ну, дорогие друзья, токенизация – это то, что такие большие игроки традиционного финансового рынка, как MasterCard и другие крупные игроки, как бы институционально занимаются токенизацией, это большой сигнал о том, что токенизация – это не просто какой-то хайповый момент. На самом деле токенизация – это ровно то, что блокчейн приносит в нашу экономику. Потому что мы все привыкли ассоциации наши строить с блокчейном только крипта, биткоин, прочие необеспеченные активы, но на самом деле блокчейн позволяет сделать эффективнее те бизнес-процессы, которые сейчас в традиционной финансовой системе выстроены. За счет чего? За счет того, что там автоматизируется доверие. Потому что фундаментально любое финансовое взаимодействие – это про доверие. Вы доверяете банку или вы доверяете страховой компании, что она может быть посредником между вами и вашим контрагентом. В блокчейне все это доверие может быть автоматизировано за счет распределенности и всех таких штук. И поэтому токенизация, я уверен, еще окажет существенный эффект, а такие инициативы, которые делает MasterCard, они помогут как бы дойти до каждого потребителя, потому что практически все из нас являются пользователями платежных карт в том числе. Now, let's switch to some regulatory perspective. Let me do some short introduction in Russian, if you allow. Сальвадор вообще интересная юрисдикция. Я скажу смелая юрисдикция, потому что это первая страна, которая признала биткоин в качестве законного платежного средства, так называемый legal tender. Это было достаточно смелое решение, на которое не решает до сих пор большинство центральных банков и регуляторов по всему миру. Но это для нас, конечно, как для регуляторов, очень большой как бы интерес вызывает, посмотреть, как это влияет на экономику, на макроэкономические параметры. И все эти вызовы, с которыми справляется Сальвадор в этом нелегком пути, они, конечно, очень интересны, потому что никто до этого не делал. Регуляторных фреймворков для этого просто не существует. И это вдвойне радует, что человек, который непосредственно занимается этим, сегодня в нашей панельной сессии. Поэтому, если у вас будут вопросы, у нас будет Q&A после, поэтому обязательно обращайтесь. So I read some of the introduction for you, how courageous the government of El Salvador for doing interesting things. But except from this, hype, I know that you guys also exploring the entire regulatory framework, not only for tokenized money, but also tokenized assets. And can you share your perspective? What are the key challenges in building the proper framework for that? What was your experience overall? I think it would be interesting to hear. The floor is yours.
Thank you. And I'd like to say thanks, Astana, for the warm welcome. It's a beautiful country, and I hope to be back again next year. As it was already said, El Salvador nationalized Bitcoin as our national currency. I think one of the biggest challenges that I have on this panel is that I'm sort of the principal in the high school. I have the stick, and I gotta make sure that the kids behave. And it very much feels like that at times, because now I wear a regulator hat, although I'm a developer myself, and I enjoy the technology. And because I am from the industry side, I also know the potentials of the danger that exists because of the technology. So for me, it's a very hard balance, but it's a balance that as the representative of the person in charge to regulate the financial transparency of a country, it's a challenge that I have to take very seriously, that I have to put my own personal agenda. Well, except Bitcoin. Bitcoin it's all good. We love Bitcoin. But when it comes to other types of crypto and other types of technologies that are still haven't truly proven themselves, that are still in the exploratory stage, except liquid, we have created. So let me start off by saying that when I came into my position in El Salvador, which, by the way, I celebrated 1 year yesterday, and I decided to do it here in Astana because it was a great opportunity to come and share this with you. What I promised the president was the development and creation of the most robust and friendly regulation and supervision for digital assets. Now, for us, digital assets has a very specific definition. And to me, the word crypto doesn't really mean much. Crypto means cryptographic. And however, we have given this crypto word a life of its own. And we have given it an industry. It defines an industry. The problem of this industry is that there's a lot of players that will never be able to get regulated. There's a lot of players that really do have this decentralized finance mentality that allow you to have money that's untraceable. And that's fine, but not when it comes to national stability, not when it comes to us countries that have to abide by international regulations. We have the Financial Action Task Force, which enforces or recommendations of rules that have to be applied in every country. And for your country, let's say Kazakhstan, if it was deemed not to have passed the Financial Action Task Force and it was put on a blacklist, this costs your country between 7 to 10% of your GDP. So as a regulator, these are the things that we have to look at. And I mean, I love what Rajat has said. I love the innovation and the technology. So in El Salvador, what we decided to do is to really focus on what type of digital asset tokenization, and what we focus on is assets of taking securities, existing securities, or something that can be minted or launched on a stock exchange, but creating a tokenization of it. So crypto in El Salvador is not really an industry. Bitcoin is our national currency, so that's as far as we go with crypto. What I regulate is the tokenization or the creation of securities that remove the human interaction. And what do I mean by removing the human interaction? Is that if you think of really sophisticated financial products that are only accessible to the super rich in Canada, and this is where I grew up, and the States, you have to be a qualified investor in order to access sophisticated products that have a higher risk but a larger return, but also at the same time creates products that are just by the rich for the rich. Now, through tokenization of real world assets, for example, one of the products that we have in El Salvador that's accessible to every Salvadorian is the purchase of futures of grain. There's a company that came and tokenized $100 million worth of soy futures. Now, again, this would be a product that would never be accessible. What I see through the tokenization and what I'm trying to achieve in El Salvador, perhaps the best example for those of you that are familiar with the American economy would be what Robinhood did for the stock market. Create fractionalized access to financial products that revolutionize the stock industry, the stock market industry in the United States. I mean, we have recent cases like GameStop, and also you haven't seen GameStop, Google it and watch the movie. But are things now that because of democratization, the access of financial instruments that are created, the landscape changes. Now, if these financial instruments are created under regulation and we ensure the transparency, the fact that there's no money laundering, the fact that there is no financing of terrorism, and most importantly, the fact that it's creating value to your citizens, that's the paradigm. That's what we're creating in El Salvador. So our focus is not to allow every single product that exists. It is to be very selective and work with very few products that come to do two things. One, benefit to our citizens. Two, allow democratization of access to financial products to the world. And we only want products that have tremendous financial integrity, that have proper prospectus. It is not an easy turnkey solution. I mean, I've only had 30% success rate of approvals of all the companies and platforms that come, but that's because one is we're under the microscope. A lot of, given the nationalization of Bitcoin, given the creation of the commission, a lot of non-supporters of this new industry, the old traditional financial industry supporters, are waiting for us to make a mistake and say, we told you so, this doesn't work. So as a regulator, I take a very strong approach, and I'm the principal, and I only want A students in my class, and it puts me in an awkward situation because I wasn't an A student. I am a developer, so I like the innovation. So.
Well, first of all, good luck on your mission critical. It sounds very interesting. So let me ask 2 follow-up questions. First of all, I imagine that one of the challenges would be a financial literacy aspect of your work, because this is exactly, as you said, like a very complicated products, actually, not traditional financial products. And even with traditional financial products, we as regulators usually get a lot of challenges. But with these completely new types of financial intermediation, I would imagine that there might be a lot of problems. So how you address this financial literacy issue, or is it your part of your job, actually?
Yeah, so this is a good question, and this goes back to the discussion of what does adoption mean to me of Bitcoin in El Salvador. Does adoption really mean that Salvadorians start using and buy and sell everything through Bitcoin? It doesn't. The actual meaning for me of the value that Bitcoin has brought to our society is exactly financial literacy. We have some of the most well-developed programs, not just for the citizens, and not just for the school children, now for all government workers. We have programs that explain why it is that Bitcoin exists, why is it a deflationary asset, and most importantly, the basics of financial literacy, which are not incorporated into any school program. We now have incorporated Bitcoin education into grade school, high school, and university program. So in our country, when it comes to understanding financial literacy, it's not only part of the core programs in the educational program, it's accessible to everyone. Now, specifically to what you're saying is, we're creating products that provide value. I believe that the whole idea of bringing a horse to the water, you can lead the horse to the water, but the horse is not going to drink. The reality is there's got to be a value proposition. There's got to be, you got to be thirsty and you're going to die, so you drink the water, and then you're going to find water. And this is the other set of products that we're creating right now. So the beauty of tokenization is that really allows you to, one, fractionalize a product, something that's worth $100,000. You can now sell it in a number of tokens for $10 a piece, which it's accessible for most people. You can create smart contracts behind it to ensure that they're only sold to people that are whitelisted on the application. There's a lot of different things. But you need debate. You need something for people to buy. Just to give you an idea of one of the products that we're working with the country of Paraguay, it's a discussion product right now, is we don't produce any meat in El Salvador. We produce very little meat. The cost per pound for meat in El Salvador is between $5 to $6. We are working in tokenizing access to meat for the poor population, or the disfranchised population of El Salvador, in the farmers markets, that they can actually buy a meat token, that they are buying meat directly from the producer in Paraguay at $2 a pound. So by tokenizing this product and allowing underprivileged Salvadorians for $10 to have 4 or 5 pounds of meat instead of 1 or 2 pounds of meat in the past, we're skipping the large bulk buyer, like Cargill that goes in and buys all the meat. We're skipping the distributor, and we're skipping the supermarket. Now, this is a value proposition that will force or will encourage Salvadorians to start using the technology. So most importantly, for people to adopt something, there has to be a value proposition. So in our country, what we have decided is we haven't just adopted Bitcoin, we've gone beyond Bitcoin and understood and created laws, regulation, and supervision to be able to be the leader in the adoption of digital assets and blockchain technology.
Great. In order to stick to time, I will keep my second question to later, so let me do a small summary of what you guys do in Russian. Ну, на самом деле, как мы заранее обсудили с вами, Сальвадор действительно сделал смелый шаг, и сейчас, как вы обратили внимание, правительство Сальвадора пытается не просто сделать биткоин платежным средством, а создать экосистему вокруг этого, да? Экосистему, которая попробует использовать фундаментальные преимущества блокчейна для создания каких-то, по сути, государственных услуг в том числе. Вот как пример, которым коллега поделился, это демократизация каких-то видов активов для обычных жителей и граждан. И это самое, наверное, интересное, что блокчейн может делать, поэтому будем все с интересом наблюдать, что происходит. Ну и еще раз поаплодируем смелости и пожелаем удачи.
Сальвадор лучшая школа получается.
Получается, что так? Да, получается, что так. Да. So let me then switch to the next speaker, Athena. I know that you guys doing some interesting stuff right now, and hopefully you're gonna announce it soon. It is related to actual tokenization of real estate, if I'm not mistaken, here in Kazakhstan, right? So all of us going to enjoy this soon, right? So can you guys share what it's about and then evolve and engage into potential, challenges that you, the operator, would encounter throughout this way, and just share your experience, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction, Binor. So I think before I start introducing our project, maybe I have a bit of a disclaimer. It's really, whatever I'm saying now, it's not for financial promotions or advertisements. It is, and whatever kind of crypto investments that you want to do, please DYOR, do your own research. Right, so maybe a bit of background on Big One. We have actually been around globally for about 5 to 6 years since we have actually started off in China. And at one point, we were the biggest global exchange in China then. But because of, the Chinese laws changing, we decided to expand globally instead. And we saw that Kazakhstan was a very viable market for potential growth because of the friendly regulations. And we do see a high digital literacy here as well. So it was actually around last year, I remember it was August, that one of my business partners came to me and said, he has an idea where he wanted to tokenize real estate as a digital asset. And at that point of time, tokenization was not the trend yet. So I can say that this business partner of mine has quite a bit of foresight because it was about less than half a year later that tokenization became the trend this year together with gaming. So I was like, okay, we hit jackpot. So as we progress down tokenization, I think coming from Singapore's traditional finance sector, one of my biggest concerns definitely was client protection. I wanted clients to trade safely, especially when, although digital literacy is definitely here in Kazakhstan, financial literacy, I have to say, has not quite caught up yet. So I wanted something that was not only easy for investors to understand, but also safe for them to invest as well. So one of my main, I would say I had a few things that were non-negotiable. First of all, this a real estate asset has to be 100% fully built. So we are not taking in any uncompleted projects or fundraising for any projects that want to be built, because that imposes an uncertainty, and uncertainty means risk. So the second, I would say, rule that I set for our company is that all clients who invest in tokenized assets on our platform must be professional investors. I do not want clients coming to me and telling me that, I don't know what I'm buying, but my friend tells me that it is good, so I'm buying. So these are exactly the kind of investors that I do not want, because the trade, yes, we earned profits and we earn revenue from this one trade, but I do not want it to have long-term implications on our reputation and future projects. So I think that is something very important to me as well. And third is, I work very closely with my regulators from AFSA, and I keep them informed every step of the way in my intentions, my business plans, who my partners are, as it is, I would say, a learning process together, hand in hand. Because AFSA has actually put a lot of thought and effort about how they want to regulate us and why they want to regulate us. So as much as possible, it is, a collaboration not only with my business partners, but also with my regulators as well. Because we also have to decide how we want to be regulated and how we should be regulated. So these were the questions that we actually had to answer along the way. I would say that it's been more than a year into our journey, and finally we've sorted out most of my main concerns. It's concerns stemming from my time in traditional finance. So it was only after sorting out my main concerns that I'm actually glad to say we should be launching very soon in the next few months before the end of the year. So at the same time, we wanted this to be something easy for our clients to understand, which is why our project is called One Square. So when we call it One Square and we tokenize 1 square meter as one token, it is something immediately not only tangible, but is something that you can visualize and see. It's right in front of you. What are you buying? Oh, I bought 1 token. How much is 1 token? Oh, it's 1 square meters. So we are not accepting anything such as, I want to buy 0.01 token. I want to buy 0.25 token. So although, yes, I am fractionalizing the asset, I am not fractionalizing the token, because accounting on the books, it is going to be problematic. So I want it to be clean, and I want it to be successful, because so far there has not been a successful case of tokenization in Kazakhstan yet. I've seen many successful ones in Dubai, and I do hope that Big One will lead the path for future, successful tokenization of real estate here, that not only benefits the real estate market in terms of liquidity, but will also benefit the ecosystem here as a whole.
First of all, thank you for choosing Kazakhstan. That's a great news. And of course, good luck on your project. I think it will be instrumental for entire tokenized economy industry here in Kazakhstan. Wish you very good luck here. As you mentioned, the user journey is quite an important part in introducing these new complicated financial products, right? And as you told, you are dealing mostly with professional investors. So your total addressable market then is a function of financial literacy in a sense. In any country. So how do you see what role industry players can play in shaping this financial literacy? Possibly some collaboration with governments or introducing, some specific courses. So what is your thinking around that?
I think right now, to to be honest, my main focus is more of working with my business partners in brokerages and other exchanges to ensure that all the investors that are planning to invest into this project know exactly what they're buying. We're also trying to work closely with Blockchain KZ that always offer, I would say, educational talks and seminars to introduce crypto to the general public. So actually, it is not most professional investors; it is only professional investors. If you try to, when it is launched, and if you try to buy the token as a normal investor, it would not go through. You must be a professional and answer all the questions before you can actually place even soft commitment. So there are actually two phases. There's soft commitment and there's hard commitment. So I put my foot down and said to my IT team when they were actually making the decisions, I said, even if it's a soft commitment, I do not want retail clients. It must be professional before they even can, do soft commitments, because at the soft commitment stage, we're actually already accepting payments. And I do not want to risk it in future if anything happens or any kind of legal lawsuits, because it's just not worth it.
Well, I do appreciate your conscious approach. And what you can suggest to financial regulators of Kazakhstan as an industry player, which type of regulation or probably some suggestions would help to make your product and potentially other products in tokenized economy?
I think definitely we do appreciate all the weekly updates, bi-weekly updates that AFSA has with us in calls. They always ask us, Athena, do you need any help? Do you need support? For example, when we were facing issues with the banks, the AFSA was very kind to reach out to the banks personally to help us connect to the banks, because we were having some issues with the payments and initially the bank accounts and also with API. And at the same time, I think, to be honest, we have been really appreciative of everything that our regulators have done for us. They've been very receptive, because when we first came to them with the idea of tokenization, they haven't really quite figured out how they want to regulate. But as things progressed, they even came up with a STO license just for this purpose, to let us know what are the things that we can do and what are the things that we cannot do. So I think as long as the lines and the boundaries are clear, that would be more than sufficient for us.
Yeah, it's great to hear. So let me summarize. Здорово, что в Казахстане появляются и будут появляться проекты по токенизации реальных активов. Давно идут диалоги на тему «давайте токенизируем факторинг, задолженность, недвижимость». Мы надеемся, что у этого проекта будет большое будущее. И, наверное, спикер привел в своем выступлении пример вот такого уникального взаимодействия участника индустрии с регулятором, с АФСА в данном случае. И это здорово, что у нас в Казахстане есть такая весьма гибкая юрисдикция, которая способна в процессе появления чего-то нового принципиально вырабатывать регулирование, as you go, что называется. И, наверное, это то преимущество, которое, надеюсь, мы будем больше и больше реализовывать для того, чтобы все больше и больше инноваций попадали. И с учетом послания главы государства, в котором прозвучала необходимость регулирования, выработки нового закона о банках, отражающего реалии рынка финтех, регулирования цифровых активов в целом в казахстанской юрисдикции, мы надеемся, что вот именно токенизация реальных активов станет такой одной из фундаментальных вещей. И здесь весь тот гигантский опыт, который регулятор юрисдикции МФЦ накопил, надеюсь, нам будет полезен. Arnab, let's talk to you. I know that Stoker has been very instrumental to different types of businesses to tokenize essentially everything, anything. So, and you guys then a very good source of use cases, because you actually encountered many of them throughout your journey. And I just wanted to ask, what are probably the brightest use cases that you encountered throughout your career? And overall, share your experience as a stocker. That would be great to hear.
Yeah. Thanks a lot first for the invitation to the Astana Finance Days. It's a
great experience for the last couple of days, and looking forward to a few more conversations during the day. So Stocker started in 2018, so we are one of the oldest player in the asset tokenization space, 6 years, but still it seems to be eternity in the space. And one of the reasons why we started and why I started, I'm one of the co-founders of Stocker, and the real motivation was, if you see after 1980s, the concept of dematerialization came in with the NASDAQ, and there was no fundamental evolution of how the capital market settlement happens. You just mentioned about, there was a discussion about Robinhood and how they enabled access to fractional ownership and all these things, but these are all interface level changes. These are not changes in the way how fundamentally securities are settled. If you see before that, you had trucks, that brokerage accounts were moving trucks and the paper shares were being traded, and then we moved to dematerialization. And our thesis in 2018 was tokenization will be the evolution of dematerialization. Now the question comes is which kind of assets can be tokenized first, so market understands, and which kind of assets can be tokenized over the time, like long-term duration. With 6 years, one thing we understood very nicely and very interestingly is the asset quality makes a lot of sense. Like that means whenever tokenizing some financial asset, it has to make some sense. There need to be some motivation why somebody will buy that asset, right? The example of El Salvador, that the meat tokenization, there is a real use case, there's a demand, right? And out of all the experimentation, we found a very interesting success story that's a tokenized Bitcoin mining hash rate. And it seems to be very crazy, and it's maybe also very nerdy why somebody will tokenize a hash rate, right? But think like, and I think in Kazakhstan you have a very strong energy infrastructure, right? In energy segment, you have power purchase contracts. You can actually use the power purchase contract to go to a bank and borrow against it. In the Bitcoin mining, the hash rate can be a similar asset class. The hash rate mining means, definitely you know there's a hash rate is the difficulty in which Bitcoin gets produced out of an infrastructure. And when you're tokenizing a hash rate, you're tokenizing your infrastructure that has the energy component and also the data center business that has a hardware component, right? We partnered with Blockstream. Blockstream is one of the leading player in the Bitcoin software development. The CEO of Blockstream, Dr. Adam Back, is the one who invented proof of work. Satoshi Nakamoto mentioned him in the white paper of Bitcoin. And Blockstream has a very strong mining operation in US. And we collaborated with them back in 2021. And the BMN, Blockstream mining note that was issued that raised 40 million. And it's a very interesting example of case study of collaboration also with Bitfinex Securities, AIFC regulatory framework. And we structured it from Luxembourg. So the securities got issued from Luxembourg. It got listed for secondary trading under AIFC regulatory framework, and also a few other jurisdictions. So it's kind of a global capital market instrument. And this product got matured this July. 40 million was raised. This product paid out 80 million in Bitcoin. So over 1,200 Bitcoin has been paid out. It gave 101% dollar basis return in a 3-year period and 32% Bitcoin basis return in a 3-year period. So it outperformed Bitcoin. This product, when we started selling, it was being sold within a day. So in certain series, we just got filled it within 1 day, within few hours, because the economics were very strong. And with 3 years, we saw a very strong investor movement. This product also being traded 20 million in volume for the overall life cycle. And we saw, and Stocker here is a tokenization platform. We manage the investor register. We are also managing the vehicle in Luxembourg. And also we provide the full compliance umbrella for the tokenization. And the issuance and the full lifecycle management. And also we processed all the Bitcoin payout that we did in July. And over the full period, we realized, okay, there are demand for investors for tokenized securities. The question is, what kind of assets can natively survive in a tokenized and digital way? Some assets, like if we have to tokenize a Bitcoin mining hash rate, we can do it in traditional way. But can I create a net asset value NAV calculation on chain, where every day when Bitcoin gets mined, you can see on a dashboard, like El Salvador did, right? When they're buying everyday Bitcoin, you can see it in real time. This level of transparency in traditional financial product cannot be attained. And we tried to mix these two kind of new approach plus legacy approach plus the element of investor education that you're mentioning, that investors on a real-time basis, 24 hours, get aware how many Bitcoins they're accumulating. This product, I think, is one of the flagship product, and it paid out one of the biggest payout in the RWA space. And that made us think quite a lot is what kind of assets can really survive. And we realized Bitcoin is one of the assets people talk very less. It's a $1 trillion AUM. It surpassed silver and all these things, right? And I think it's towards the gold market cap. Now, the moment we are going from Bitcoin's $1 trillion to $2 trillion and beyond, the Bitcoin ecosystem will have derivatives, structured products. And that means if those assets are issued under AIFC structure, it's not only for Kazakhstan or Central Asia, but it's a global product in that way, right? And this is, I think, the kind of the products that markets really wants. And I was at US for the Nashville, and I saw the conversation, how it changed over the years, right? With the Bitcoin ETF coming in US, a lot of institutions are moving and a lot of demand and understanding of the Bitcoin. And so we kind of getting more and more interest in Bitcoin derivative structured products. We also tokenized in the May this year MicroStrategy stocks. Now, people may ask, okay, why you will tokenize a MicroStrategy? You can buy it from public market. MicroStrategy, a US company, is one of the oldest public market company. And they, I think before COVID, their market cap was roughly around 2 billion. Now it's over 15 billion. And the only thing they did is they used the US debt market, borrowing at a cheap and buying Bitcoin. A very interesting playbook, right? And that's how they increase their market cap. But these companies' stocks are correlated to Bitcoin. But you cannot trade MicroStrategy against Bitcoin. So and a lot of traders actually we got from LATAM region actually. They said, hey, you know, to get a US banking account or brokerage account is hard. And we would like to trade MicroStrategy against Bitcoin. So what we did, we wrapped it. Within 4 or 5 weeks, we got a market size of around 7 million AUM. And they're trading, so technically Bitcoin is 24/7 trading, but not MicroStrategy. But still people are trading on the weekend, and now we see some volume. So we are quite interested, and this actually excites us. Our team are kind of very much geeky in that way, you know, very small team, but very geeky, to find very interesting asset classes that can really survive in this new era of tokenized securities. And we believe the initial phase will be private markets, Bitcoin derivatives, structured products, real estate, in a very interesting way, not just tokenizing a building, but in the square foot. And there need to be some element of concept that makes it attractive. And once it's done, it can really get a lot of interest because you have over $1 billion plus Tether. That's a stablecoin volume. Can all this volume be absorbed in crypto coins? After Bitcoin, there is no other crypto coin that is that resilient. So the question is, this will go to the traditional financial markets product. And as a market participants, our role is to identify the right asset, bring the right partner as a sourcing partner, and bring it in the market.
As you mentioned, the survival criteria for tokenized assets is obviously the use case, the demand from the users. And as you mentioned, with the tokenization concept, you can essentially tokenize a completely new type of financial assets. But with that also come new types of risks, right? Because you have a lot of intermediaries and all the stuff. So do you have any suggestions, as you also provide a compliance umbrella and all this stuff, so how you manage risk regarding that, broadly speaking?
Yeah. I would say we actually are reducing risks rather than increasing risk. Now, for example, as a regulator, if the regulator come to us today morning, I can give within 1 hour who are holding the shares at any given point of time. Even I will not say 1 hour, within 1 minute. In traditional financial market, can they provide it?
So transparency is the key, right? So
transparency is the key. It's like the regulators get that level of transparency that traditional market cannot provide. For example, if tomorrow, let's say Apple, you ask Apple who are your shareholders, you may take months for reconciliation. You will never know at the end of the day who are actually the UBOs. But we can give you because they're all transparent on the blockchain.
Yeah, that is what one call like embedded supervision or supervision by design because of the transparency, and it's great to know. So let me do a very short intro of what we guys discussed, and then probably we can open the floor to some sort of Q&A session if someone would have a question. We discussed that tokenization is a reality already. It's not overhyped thing. It's thing that actually can bring values through liberalization of the liquidity, through democratization of access to the people so that they can actually become the active investors. And overall, this new, essentially blockchain democratize and automate trust in some certain sense, right? And any financial intermediation in the end of the day is about trust. And the programmability of blockchain, the immutability of blockchain, and all that stuff can help us. So it's already happening, this financial revolution. So let me ask the audience if you guys have any questions. So let's try to respond them. Yeah, sure.
Hello. First of all, thank you for the speech. It was very interesting.
So you guys want?
I was looking at Mr. Juan Carlos, but this one is
So Mr. Juan Carlos, yeah. You're the most relevant person, I think.
I think, and I had a very interesting conversation with the people here in AFSA, because in El Salvador, what we have done is, once again, I'm focusing strictly in real world asset tokenization. So I've created a whole streamlined process. If you go to our website, right at the front, it's going to say, do you want to tokenize? We promote the tokenization. So the process is this. We've created enough filters that by the time you get to the regulator, you have a very strong product that I guarantee you in 5 days, I'm going to approve you or deny you. And what we do is you first come up with your idea, your product. I mean, you know, Athena mentioned her product and everything. And then we have companies that are registered to be structured, but structured not just on the financial side, but on the technology side that can help you understand how that product's going to work as a token. I mean, for example, she doesn't want to fractionalize, she wants this, she wants that, and the technology that it could be done. After you have the emission, the idea, the financial structure, the technology structure, then you find a platform. You go to Stoker, you go to Bitfinex, you present your idea, and the company's going to say, look, this is something that my market would like, and I'm going to launch it. Before you come to me, though, we have another filter, which is a certifier. And this is an entity that we have created in El Salvador that's a separate, independent, very financial and very technological entity that will do a certification of your emission and say, and give us a report. So you pay for it, but technically they work for the commission, and they look at your analysis, identify potential threats and everything, and give us an evaluation of how good your emission is in order to launch the platform. Once you have all of that, you show up to my office, and in 5 days is your approval. So to answer your question, what we've done is we created in a streamlined process that literally any product can be tokenized, because we've created players in the ecosystem to help you along to ensure that, you know, you don't have to figure out on your own how you're going to do this product. We've certified companies that can provide that help, and they're independent. So once you come to the commission, we have a guarantee that in 5 days, you're either online or we'll tell you what you need to change.
Yeah,
And I'm willing to share that with you, so.
I think we have time to cover one more question. Yep, sure. Sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yeldar. Dear distinguished guests, welcome to Kazakhstan. Thanks for sharing such insightful, great information. Coming from a real estate background, 6 years in Dubai, we tried to actually tokenize real estate back in 2022, but we came through certain challenges. And mainly, it was 2 challenges. First is the regulator, the deed ownership. With the Dubai Land Department, say Kazakhstan here, we have to register the cadastre, number, and all these things. My first question would be to Ms. Athena regarding the deed ownership. Supposedly you tokenize the real estate, but then the fraction of the token, the holder of the fraction, he wants to sell it to the other guy, and then he buys it from him. But then how exactly the deed ownership will work, and if there is some tax implications. This is the #1 question from the regulation. And the second question, the liquidity problem when the volume of the transactions would go high. Supposedly you tokenize 10 properties, each worth $1 million, and then $10 million of crypto assets let's say you tokenize, you sold it in USDT or any other coin, but then the seller needs to receive actual fiat cash. How exactly the transition from that cryptocurrency would occur into real money, and you can also manage the regulatory and the tax parts of the transaction as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So for the first question, I would say that all transactions are recorded in two ways. First, via blockchain technology. So everything is recorded on the blockchain and it's actually extremely transparent. So at the same time, we understand that because the financial literacy might not be there yet for the average Kazakh. So we have actually told AFSA that on top of it, we will also be updating the national registrars at the end of every month. So there will be a monthly update and rollover. So that is how we actually do protect the client's interests. So it is actually legally protected as well by court of law here in Kazakhstan, where so I'm not able to tell you exactly how it is structured because this is copyright by my business partners, and I'm sorry, I'm not at liberty to divulge. But I can tell you that all these are recorded on the public register, legally. So it does have legal effect, both on the blockchain and off the blockchain. So as for the taxes, then it will, because whatever transactions that goes through license exchanges here, we have to report to the tax authority. So all these taxes are automatically factored in as well, and we report to the tax authority. So if I'm not wrong, I have been hearing rumors that there might be a tax imposed. We are not sure yet. Hopefully it will not come to be. All right. And for your second question regarding liquidity. So first of all, we do not want this product to disrupt the property market too much because the property market in Kazakhstan is actually doing really well. It is actually a really good appreciating asset to have. And we don't want this to, crash the market or, have like something of a bank run, in terms of property. So for the first year, the property will be under lockdown and no buy or sell trades will be allowed on the platform. However, clients will be given dividends because what we are selling is office space, and this office space are 100% leased, and they will produce a rent. So clients will get dividends from this rent, and they will get some form of returns. And after 1 year, for the buy and sell, definitely it goes through the order book. So the buyer actually has to top up tenge or USD into our custodian bank account, and only when they have actual cash, then they can buy these tokens from other clients who wish to sell. So then, or when the seller gets sales of the token, he will be able to withdraw this money out of Big One custody account. So it is very much like a spot buy and sell trade that would be something easy for clients to understand.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we run out of time, and if you guys have any questions, I think speakers are ready to answer after the panel. So first of all, thank you, dear panelists. I think we did a great job.